Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Templar and welcome back, and today we are going to be talking about the story and history of Caratacus. Now it's stated that Caratacus was born sometime around 10 AD and died sometime after 50 AD. It was stated that he actually lived in a type of region of the area of Britain, and as well it was stated that he was born into the lands of the Caratacus tribe. Now, if none of y'all know history of the ancient Celts, it's actually stated that this tribal people actually controlled most of Britain, and it's actually stated that Caratacus actually shared the rule of the island nation with his brother Togodumnus, who of which was technically his elder brother. However, it was stated though that these two actually shared the rule in the divide of the said island. Now, it's stated that during the time in the year of the Claudian invasion of the summer of 43 AD, it stated that the Romans with 800 ships were about to set sail. However, it was stated that Caratacus and his brother, who had spies in the region of Gaul, were informed that the Romans were about to call off the invasion, mainly because of their worries about the said island. It's actually stated that the island by the Roman tongue was actually full of giants and demons and evil, and was the edge of the known world. In doing so, the Celtic spies told Caratacus and his brother that the invasion was incredibly never supposed to come. However, it was stated that because of this, Caratacus and his brother later on left the shores of Britain undefended, and as well, the Romans later on marched inward. It was stated on the region of Kent, of which was mainly the main invasion area, that the Romans later on established a major foothold in the said area. Realizing that the Romans actually had arrived upon the island nation, it was stated that Caratacus and his brother reordered their entire allies to actually establish themselves near the southern region of England. But however, it was actually stated that while the Romans were actually fully establishing themselves in the word, it was stated that the Celts established themselves somewhere near an area of river that's known today as Midway River. Now, it's actually stated though here that the Romans actually had a major problem, seeing as though there were no major bridges in Britain, and unfortunately this is what causes a problem for them. However, it was stated that Claudius found a way with his general. It was stated that the Roman general actually had a small force of Roman soldiers to actually swim across the river, in which they actually killed the horses. Upon doing this, it was stated that the Celtic cavalry and as well their chariot cav were no longer able to actually aid them in the fight. In doing so, all the Celts fought ferociously in hand-to-hand fighting on foot against the Romans. The Romans then sent the last of their reinforcement across the river in order to defeat the Celts. However, this is where a major battle took place, and as well, this is where Caratacus' brother was died. After this, Caratacus ordered a full retreat into the lands of Britannia. While in doing so, it was stated that Caratacus even adopted guerrilla warfare. In doing so, the Romans started to lose much of their allies. Soon after this fight, it was stated that Claudius started to march north toward the city of modern-day Colchester. It was stated that here, that pretty much was actually an ancient Celtic stronghold known as Caledonian. It was stated that here that the Celts actually fought back against the Romans in such guerrilla-type fighting, and later on in massive forms of slaughter against the Celts. The Romans managed to beat them. However, it was stated though that this would still cause a problem. It was even stated that this fighting kept on going until the autumn of 43 AD. And as well, it was even stated that Claudius had even brought his war elephants into the lands in order to actually try and make the Celts surrender. However, it was stated that nearly only around half of the said Celtic tribes in the south had surrendered to Claudius. But sometime after the autumn of 43 AD, it was stated the Roman armies actually managed to split up and divide themselves into three forces, hoping to actually try and surround Caratacus in order to try and defeat him. However, many Celts did stand with Caratacus, but it was also stated that 11 tribes stood with Rome, especially one of the most famous being the Iceni tribe, who stood with Rome under the name of Prasutagus, Boudicca's husband. In fact, they actually thought this would be a best idea, hopefully managing to actually try and stand with Rome instead of against, mainly hoping to actually defeat their enemies. And in fact, in 47 AD, the Romans controlled most of eastern Britain. However, at this time, a new Roman governor of the land had started to become known as Scapula. Scapula was stated to have actually gone as far as stating the following: that he had forced the Celts to give up their weapons, of which was not a very good idea in the ancient world, and of which he actually stated the following: that it was the best option for them to allow this in general. However, if we know from history books, you don't do that with a Celt, and as well led to a massive revolt. In fact, many Celtic tribes that allied themselves with Rome started to fight back, especially the Iceni. Claudius was enraged with Scapula, stating the following: that if he done this again, that he would have his head immediately. Scapula took these words immediately and understood that he had to right his wrongs. And so it was stated that Scapula later on marched towards the lands of western Britain, into the lands of Wales. However, it was stated that here that Caratacus had actually allied himself with many Celtic tribes in the western end of Britain, mainly of which would be mainly hoping to defeat the Romans once and for all. It was stated that many of the Celts actually governed him as a true king, and as well a true king to actually ally with. And while using hit-and-run strategy against the Romans, it was stated that Caratacus was winning time and time again, until the tribes had actually demanded he defeat the Romans immediately in a great battle. However, it was stated that doing so, this led to a Celtic defeat, especially near a type of hill fort in the lands of Wales. The Celts were surrounded and slaughtered in ferocious fighting. It was stated the Romans had actually tried their best to actually charge through the said city gates, and in the process the Celts dropped boulders, logs, and even everything down upon the Romans, even the trees themselves. However, it was stated the Romans still took the city and slaughtered a great many. It was stated because of this, Caratacus lost his kingdom, and his wife and children were now captured by the Romans. Caratacus was now a king on the run. However, it was stated that while doing so, it was stated that Caratacus went to the lands of the Brigantes, who later on betrayed him under the command of Cartamandua. Cartamandua, as y'all would remember, she was actually one of the type of Celtic tribes who had allied with Rome in the northern region of Britannia. However, it was stated that she was actually a type of woman that was trying to actually look best for her tribe, but mainly for herself. It was stated that most of her tribe despised the Romans and actually wanted them out of their homeland. In fact, Cartamandua was later on viewed as a traitor to the Celts, later on written down by Celtic people and poets that were actually allowed to write their own history by Claudius. It was stated that sometime after Cartamandua had actually given Caratacus to the Romans, Caratacus and his family were sent to Rome to be executed, of which was technically the entire embodiment of the ancient world during the time of Rome. Especially could be seen with none other than Vercingetorix. However, while standing before Claudius Caesar, it was stated that Caratacus actually asked a word before the emperor, of which Claudius allowed it. Caratacus spoke these words in such a manner that of which it was a speech and a half. Noble emperor and people of Rome, if I had been less than successful in resisting you, I could have come to your city as your friend, not as a prisoner. You might have been glad under those positions to ally yourself with someone so nobly born. As things are, I face humiliation, while you have glory. I had horses, men, lands, weapons. Are you surprised I am sorry I lost them? Just because you want to rule the world, you think everyone else wants to be made a slave. If I had surrendered without a fight, no one would have heard of my downfall, nor your triumph. If you kill me, they will both be forgotten. But if you spare me, then I shall forever stand as a symbol of your mercy. Caratacus was then allowed to actually live by the order of Claudius Caesar. Caesar stated the following: that he spoke with such manner in Gaul, that of which no man could ever speak such words. It was stated that Caratacus was actually allowed to live in the lands of Rome, but it stated he never managed to return to his homeland in the lands of Britannia. Caratacus died a broken man, stating that following his final death, he stated the following: I die never seeing my homeland. I die never seeing the lands of the great fields, the great forests, and the salty breath of the sea, and the wind-swept winds of the howling north. Sometime after this, it was stated the Celts of Britannia kept fighting back against the Romans, stating that they were fighting for Caratacus, not realizing that Caratacus was spared from his death. Many of the Celts still believed that the Romans had slaughtered him and murdered his family. In fact, many years later, it was even stated that another tribal people would later on fight in the revolt, which would be led by the warrior queen Boudica. Hopefully you all liked this video. If y'all want to see more on history of the Celts, please check out our playlist. And as well, also, guys, let me know in the comments below if you want me to talk anything more about the Celtic history month. As well, guys, I will hopefully try and do more very soon. Also, check out our Facebook. Also, like and subscribe to help the channel grow. And as well, share this video if y'all want to know more about history to your friends. Anyways, guys, it's been Templar. Have a great day.